All right, good stuff. We are now live on TikTok and YouTube. So, good afternoon, everybody. I don't know if that fan makes too much noise, and we shall deal with it. Just arrange some stuff here so that we can see. So, good afternoon. Joyous Monday. Joyous Monday today. Now then, current bun, how's it going? Thank you for joining. Feel free to hit me up with your questions. So I'm live. Good afternoon, Hazard G. Nice for you to come along. I am here for your mortgage questions. Anything you want to know, let me know. I'm live on YouTube and TikTok at the same time. Further investigation of the technology, we'll see if we can go live on Instagram as well. Or Facebook, either or. But yeah, happy days. Feel free to ask any questions. Shall I put that interest rate prediction thing up? Because people seem to like that. Which one was it? Which one was it? It was that one there. That gets a lot of people talking because, well, the main reason I put that up is to try and get people. Are you likely? What for, current bun? Are you likely? I don't know. Have I missed part of your question there? I've only seen you say now then and am I likely? So I don't know what the rest of the question is, I'm afraid. Correcting my previous question. Sorry, I've not seen the previous question, but do ask it again, and I shall answer it for you. But yeah, just shoving that prediction thing up there, just to mainly help people realise that we're not going to go back to the 2% world. We had a financial advisor on here last time who said they think it might get sort of the threes next year. There might be some chance of that, but we shall have to wait and see. Yeah, Karen Bunn, do ask your question again because I've not seen all of it, I'm afraid. So let me know. It's been a nice, peaceful Monday for me so far. I've managed to get through all of my list, and yeah, I've made good headway. Was the 1%? Yes, it was. Ghost. Yes, it was. And the 2%. Is it really never coming back? I don't know why you can't see it. Are you asking something rude in there, current button? Because it does filter out some questions. If you want, you can drop me an email. There's an email link in the bio. But yeah, I'm not seeing your question coming through, I'm afraid. Looks like it's been filtered out for some reason. Hey, Philip, like the videos. Thank you, Paul. Any updates in last week from Halifax? No, nothing. So they're still sitting where they were before. Wasn't the COVID lockdown worse than 2008 recession? No, because I think there wasn't. I think people were still out. We were locked up for a small period, really. But after that, I think there were sort of things in place that meant people could still go out and look for houses. There were a lot of people during COVID wanting to move out of flats, for example, and they realized that they could work from home, so they didn't have to live in the cities. So there was a lot of activity from that aspect. But no, it was the 2008 crash and then the bank's handling of that, basically. Bank's handling of the interest rates. They kept them low for far too long, which then when we needed an increase, they had to do it all in one jump. So pretty massive. Your selling solicitor refused to give info on the property. Will they be liable if they don't complete? Well, they have to give information on the property. So current bund, your LTV is now 54%. Nice one. Good stuff. In that aspect, if you're looking at 5-year fix, am I likely to get a better rate if I get not really, no. I mean, the good rates come at sort of sub 60%. So that's the bracket that you'll fall into. So yeah, you're about there. Due for remortgage next year, December, but have some adverse coming off in February 25. Okay, is that coming off the credit file, or you're sort of clearing it or something? Does having 2 or 3 jobs look better for a bank when giving more? It's not so much the jobs, it's the multiples of income. So if you get different incomes from all over the place, then we can lump it all together. So it's an auction property refusing to give info over. Oh, I don't deal with auctions for that very reason. They're an absolute nightmare. Auction purchases. You are welcome, current bun. More than happy. So yeah, current bun, you're fitting into the brackets of the. If you're looking at 5-year fixed, then you're looking into the nice rates there. Commander coming off, good stuff. So if it's coming off the credit file, I would give it a couple of months after it. So I think you said February, wasn't it? So give it a couple of months for it to actually come off your check my file report, and happy days, you're away. That means that you won't be affected by any of that. Are you in the middle of a mortgage? Am I? No. How do you mean? My mortgage? We're still in our fixed rate. Yes, we are. Um, have you got one? Yes, I've got a mortgage. Of course. I wish I didn't, because obviously it's a big monthly outlay. But if you want to buy a house, that's what we've got to do, isn't it? We've got to have a mortgage to finance the purchase. Not in the middle of it either. We're actually coming towards the end of our fixed rate, I think. End of next year? Yeah, end of next year we come out of our rate. So I shall assess the situation as we go on. I'm already starting to think. Any recent new opinions on buy to let? No recent. The only opinion would be to make sure you buy the right property at the right price, I suppose. You want to make sure that you can secure the rental income, which is going to cover the mortgage payments. Therefore, it's important to buy the property at the right price and ensure you can get the rental income to cover it. Would it be a good idea to stay on the lender's variable until the verse comes off, please? Oh God, I don't think so. The lender's standard variable rates are massive. They're far too high. I don't think there's any really good reason. It depends what your adverse is. And if it's coming off your credit file relatively soon, I suspect it wouldn't be having too much of an impact. You can certainly look at it now, but the last thing you really want to be doing is going on the lender standard variable rate, because they're absolutely huge. You're just paying interest for interest's sake. So, you know, I wouldn't recommend anyone being on that at all. It depends what the adverse was as well. I mean, if it's coming off, yeah, you should be all right. We're buying something really bad, 50K, and doing it out. First time buyer and thinking ahead. Very good. Is there a period of time I should stay in first house for before moving? No, not really. There may be things that come into the consideration, such as if you got a new mortgage and fixed for 5 years, if you moved within that 5-year period, you either try and port your existing mortgage to a new one if you're allowed to, or you pay the early repayment charge, which is often a percentage of the remaining loan. Other than that, there's nothing really to keep you in there. It's probably just the costs associated with it. Okay, so the adverse for a CCJ and a debt management plan. Okay, so there will be lenders that will look at it now, and I suspect their rates will probably still be lower than the lender's standard variable rate. Sorry, there's a fly in here. Sorry. Their rates will probably still be lower than the lender's standard variable rate. So you might want to look at that. Or even if they offer a tracker with no early repayment charges, maybe look for a tracker that's got no early repayment charges, so you can sort it out so you don't go on the lender's standard variable rate. And then maybe once the adverse is totally gone, then you look to fix. All different kinds of strategies you can employ. But I would advocate speaking to a mortgage advisor, because, well, of course, we're best placed to see all the rates in the market and to see how things lie. I'm in London. Would it be okay to buy to let up north? Yeah, should be able to. Should be able to. That's all right. No problem, Commander. You've got a few options there to play with. It's just you have to just sort of work out what's best. But I mean, going on lender standard variable rate, try and avoid it as much as you can, because you're just paying high interest when actually you probably really don't need to. Can I ask you a favour? Please, can I have some likes? Please. please could you double tap the screen if you found that useful, Commander? That'll be very much appreciated, because the more likes, the more people we get in front of, you see. And therefore, we might get some more questions on board. Thank you, Pippa. I see you doing that. Thanks, Ghost. Thank you all. Thank you all very much. That's perfect. Because, yeah, we get some more people on board then, you see. Deepakaroo, thanks for the follow. Appreciate that as well. So, yeah. What city am I from? A very good question. I was born in Norwich. However, I've lived all over the place. I did most of my growing up in the UK's smallest city, which is, any guesses for UK's smallest city? Here you go, is a bit of a, don't Google it, just see if you can have a guess. What is the UK's smallest city? That's where I did most of my growing up. Anyone know the answer? Don't Google it. No. Okay, so it's not immediately obvious that people. I'm just gonna Google it to make sure I'm giving the right information. Somerset is not a city, Ghost. It's a county. Oh, balls. Sorry. Right, forget it. I got it wrong. I thought it was right. I have got it wrong. So I apologise. Number one, that can't be right. Number three, oh, it's the fourth. Sorry, it's the fourth small. It was Wells, Wells. That's where I grew up. Did most of my growing up, anyway. Sorry, I always thought it was the smallest city. When actually, the smallest city is saying that Brighton is the smallest city. Population more than 270,000. No, it's Wells. Ah, Jules grew up in Radstock. Very good. I might have an urgent question. Go for it, Kay. What's the urgent question? I'm paying bigger interest with having a recently added default. Yeah, you could well be, I suspect. Go for it. What is the average rate on the mortgage? Really depends on a lot of different things, I'm afraid. Can't really tell you what the average is. It depends if we're looking at 2 or 5 year, we're looking at fixed, if we're looking at trackers, all that kind of stuff. The IVA settled in the last year. Okay. There are lenders who might look at that. NatWest 5-year deal, 60% for existing customer. What's the best rate? I haven't got it in front of me, I'm afraid. Shall go for staircase finance, 5-year fixed. So, percentage of people opting for trackers versus fixed. I wouldn't say. I'm not going to put a percentage on it, because it's only if it's suitable for you, really. It's obviously a question. It's obviously a consideration that comes into a lot of people's minds now that there's obviously been changes and fluctuations in the interest rate. So it does certainly form part of the conversation when we're looking at remortgages, depending on people's needs. So I wouldn't say there's like a good percentage I can actually say of X percent doing this or X percent doing that. It's really based on individual circumstances. So it's what really suits you. Yeah. So Ricky, yeah, according to media, Bank of England base rate will be. So let me put up my Bank of England base rate graph. So just to touch on what Ricky is saying there. So if you look at that, so what we're saying there, 3.5% by 2025, and end of 2025. Yes, so there or thereabouts. But yeah, it's really a case of what's suitable for you and your attitude to risk, your circumstances, what your plans are, all that kind of stuff. That's that. I don't think most people are doing this or most people are doing that should really form part of your reasoning as to whether you're on a fixed or a tracker. Ricky, that's right. If you're on a tracker, yeah, you'll certainly see the benefit of that. However, you're on a fixed rate, that's obviously different because the fixed rates aren't necessarily linked to the Bank of England base rate. Are mortgage rates now moving more with the bank? No, I wouldn't say so. So just let's digest that picture there, because that's the Bank of England base rate. So if you're on a tracker, it tracks just slightly higher than that. So of course, if the rate falls, your rate will fall. If it goes up, your rate will go up. So that's if you're on a tracker. But now let's change that to show this prediction's a bit out, but you get the idea. So what you're seeing here, the message here is it's probably going to settle, if it hasn't settled already, around the sort of mid fours to early five kind of region for fixed rates. They are not linked to the Bank of England base rate. So there is a difference. Does that help? So mortgage ends early 27. What the expectation? I'd say, we could see some starting with a three. There is a possibility of that, but I suspect that'll be for the lower loan to value amounts. But I think fours won't be uncommon, and there'll still be some fives knocking around. So I mean, when it comes to fixed, there is a bit of a spread because it depends on how long you're fixing for. Um, Depends what your sort of credit footprint looks like, whether we're having to use just high street lenders or specialists. Then it might spread a bit. So, as a first-time buyer, is it wise to wait until rates fall, or is it a risk either way? Um, so, as a first-time buyer, I think it's important to buy when it's right for you, not necessarily waiting for something. I've got a pinned video in my profile about waiting for rates to fall. Now, I think fall is also the wrong term to use. I think where we are now, rates are slightly shifting. There's slight corrections here and there, slight movements. Um, but yeah, I think if you're a first time buyer waiting for rates to fall, you're going to be a bit disappointed. They're not going to fall, I don't think. They're certainly not going back to 2 or 1%. That's the certainty. So, my advice is for first time buyers to speak to a mortgage advisor. And if the numbers stack up and you can afford it, then of course you buy. There's going to be ups and downs throughout your whole home ownership journey. You just have to make the decision at one point to buy. How's It's Grace. Certainly not Gracie Ghost. It's definitely Grace. Do a government petition for 2% rate of annual response. You could do, but they'll just bat it back as they always do. I'll be renewing Q4 of 25. We'll be close to now, I think. Yeah, I think rates are relatively stable now. I think this is what we're going to be seeing for the foreseeable. Just my opinion. Of course, we are planning to buy, but then the mini budget happened. Now we're waiting for the start of the tax year. Yeah, it wasn't necessarily a mini budget. It was Liz Truss. Liz Truss happened, and it all went crazy. And then, of course, wars and things like that all happened, so it all changed. So when can you apply for a mortgage after having an IVA? You can you can feasibly apply for a mortgage in your last year of an IVA. There are lenders who will consider it. However, it's very, very tricky to do. So there are lenders who will do it once the IVA is finished. But as anything like IVAs, debt management plans, defaults, as time goes by, it helps. Time is a healer on that aspect. So on your credit file, it gets better over time. So an IVA is an individual voluntary arrangement, basically writing off a load of debt. It absolutely destroys your credit file. So don't do it. Riley's in the house. All right, here he is. Um, I just detest IVAs, and I also detest the way they are marketed because there seems to be very little warning on certainly the adverts I've seen. It just says may affect credit. Well, I can give you 100% certainty it will affect credit. So I think I'd love there to be some tighter restrictions around the advertising of IVA. Yeah, as Riley says, are highly missold. They are pitched as being the solution to everyone's worries. Oh, it's just like, yeah, go and rack up loads of debt and then just get an IVA and don't worry about it. It's not that at all. It will absolutely screw you for years. I've got an IVA, then wanting to improve my credit score. Getting rid of that IVA will help. How much do I have to pay if I sell a buy to let? Um, well, how do you mean? If you're buying something else, that might be a tax question. I can't get into that. There may be some tax implications. I'm afraid I'm not qualified to advise on that. Why would someone get a tracker? Seems too much uncertainty. Right. Okay. You've kind of answered. You kind of answered it there. Uncertainty. Why would someone get a tracker? Maybe they're all right with the uncertainty. Maybe they've got available cash to deal with the uncertainty. Doesn't fit everyone, and that's why some people won't purposely go for a tracker. They'll go for a fixed because they want that certainty. If they want to play the interest rate game, or if they've got other plans that dictate that a tracker may be more suitable, then of course it exists. What's the current SVR? That is, so if you're talking about the lender's standard variable rate, they differ between the lenders. They can set those to be whatever they want. They're not linked to anything. How many years paying self-employed tax? You need at least 1 year's accounts and tax returns. I'm on IVA. Is there any chance of getting a mortgage with any broker? It's very, very slim. It really depends on how the IVA has been conducted, how long you've had it. There's a very slight chance, but it's slim. There are lenders that do it. You may need a bigger deposit, such as like 25%. But it is very, very difficult to do. It's not impossible, but it's very difficult to do. Sorry, I'm missing all the. I have to do bank statements. Have fun, Riley. Wow, the fun and joys of being a mortgage advisor. Take care, mate. After I was saving up and putting a decent deposit down on a mortgage would be a better option. Yeah, I think so. Sorry, I've missed loads of questions here. Our mortgage is up for renewal next year. Any advice? Currently on a 5-year fix. My advice would be to start looking at it 6 months prior, use a mortgage broker, and if you can, try and work out what your current repayments would be based on, say, 5%, and see if you can deal with that. Maybe start paying it now, start overpaying if you're allowed. Um, how long do mortgage applications take? So the actual application, it can all be done in a day. But getting through to the offer stage, that might take a week or two. It really depends on the lender. I did one recently with Halifax, and it was from application to offer within 24 hours, and that's awesome. They're very quick. However, I've done one with HSBC, and that's been like a couple of weeks. So it just depends on your case and the lender. Do they actually look at the purchases on statements as long as they can? So what they're looking for on bank statements is any unexplained big commitments, anything that's not been put in the application. They're just making sure that you're running your financial life in a suitable way, make sure you're operating sort of within your overdraft limits. There's no bounce direct debits. Um, there's not sort of persistent gambling on there because that might indicate a gambling problem, which could risk the mortgage payments, that kind of stuff. So yeah, it's all a bit. Thank you, Andrew. Thanks for coming on. Feel free to scroll Andrew. It's not for you. When you do videos on current rates, I can never see them on Google. Are you looking at the bank's website? No, I'm largely looking at emails that come out from the lenders to us brokers. The rates they're different. They're not always available for all clients. Mainly, they might not be for remortgages. They might be just for new purchases, that kind of stuff. Then yeah, is it time to sell and pay off mortgage and rent so you can budget more? If it's up to you. Up to you. I don't know. If you go into your arranged overdraft every month, will that affect potential mortgage? No, it shouldn't do. Just ensure you do not go over your overdraft limit. Just 100% make sure you don't go over. But yeah, don't stress too much about going into it. It's better if you don't. But do we send our bank statements to you to review? Yes. So when you work with me, I send you a list of documents I need, and I'll check through them and ask you any questions because that's the job of the mortgage advisor. So I'll go through them and ask you, what's this 100 quid you spend every month or direct debit? What's that? I don't know what it is. And then, we make sure that's on any applications. But then also if the lender questions it, then I can answer it. So you don't have to be bothered. We're paying £100 a month extra currently. Will this help when we do a remortgage? What it will do is reduce the actual capital loan you have to get, because when you overpay, it actually repays the loan. You don't pay interest on it. Okay, I'm not ready to get a mortgage yet, but I like to look, just be nosy. No, that's fine. That's fine. Will I get a better interest rate if I have a professional mortgage? Are these easily available? Not necessarily a better. Well, it's a different type of product, you see. So potentially it could be a better rate. They often give you more favourable sort of affordability calculations, but you do obviously have to be a professional. We are looking at houses at present. Yes. Would you recommend looking at 2 or 5? Can't give that advice, I'm afraid. You need to be a client of mine for me to be able to give that advice. I'm not allowed to give that advice on TikTok, mainly because I have to know more about your circumstances and what will fit best with your circumstances. And I can only do that if you're a client of mine and we've gone through the fact find stage and I know all about you and your circumstances. So I can't, I'm afraid. What are the most common reasons for mortgage rejections? Unaffordability, house value not being what it's put down as, undisclosed credit commitments, all those kind of things. When remortgaging, do you have to go through the process of providing bank statements, etc.? Most likely, yes, because what you're doing is in a remortgage, you're effectively refinancing that loan. So in a remortgage, you'll be moving from one lender to the next. And of course, an application has to go in for that. On a product transfer, if you're staying with the same lender, just moving products, then not necessarily. How do you feel about variable discounted rates at the moment? Ooh, I love them like my children. Uh, Better to pay much bigger deposit if you have the money. Um, Again, it's up to you. It depends what other ideas you might have for it. But the benefit being, if you put down a bigger deposit, you're therefore borrowing less, meaning your payments are less, and your loan to value will be less, which means you might get a better rate. When you say unaffordability with respect to mortgage rejections, do you mean in terms of salary? Yeah, so being able to actually afford the repayments on the mortgage. Sorry, I should have clarified. How bad is one default 4 years ago? Not too bad. Not too bad, to be honest. We can cope with that quite easily. We've renovated, increased the value of our house. Nice work. How will this affect when we remortgage next? So, when you remortgage next, there will be a valuation done. Now, it depends whether someone actually comes and has a poke around and sees the renovation work you've done, or they do sort of what we call a desk based valuation where they just rely on data. See what the desk based one comes back as. And if you don't think it's right, then you can pay to get one done. Get a proper RICS valuation done, because then they'll have a proper look and come up with a proper value. I fixed for 30 years at 1.8%. Did you really? I bet you didn't. I care more about financial stability than a huge house. Am I right to buy a small by two? You can do whatever you want to do. Really up to you. Really up to you. We remortgaged May 25. Would you guess that mortgage rates will come down before then? Okay, so they will have come down from 6%. Yes. Yeah, they'll be lower. Well, assuming you might be on 6% because of credit issues. I don't know. But I think May next year. I mean, possibly a little bit, but don't expect big reductions though. If you're using a deposit, which has all come as a gift, will this have a negative? Not at all. No, just have to declare it as a gift and get a form or a letter done to say it's a gift. So yeah, what's the best buy to later today? Yeah. Oh right, if you're in the Netherlands, fine. Yeah, sorry, this is UK. No problem. What your best rate of 9% mortgage at the moment? Really depends on your circumstances and which lender we're looking at. There's such a range of rates. I mean, 90%, if we're looking at 2 or 5 year, take a 5 year, for example, well, let's take a 2 year. They probably start at mid fives and go all the way up to 7%. I was seeing yesterday. Halifax haven't come down recently. No, no, they haven't. What will the new normal look like for interest rates in months, years to come? I think we're in the new normal, to be honest. I think this is about it. Just my opinion. Others may disagree, but I think we're in a relatively normal period. When paying off Help to Buy equity loan through a remortgage, is it best to stay with the current lender? Not necessarily. No. Speak to a mortgage advisor, and they will find the best option for you. Because no, there might be better rates with different lenders. So yeah, definitely have a look. Do you think rates will go down to 2%? Certainly not. No. 4.75 last week. Okay. How far in advance can you start sorting out a remortgage for your fixed term? 6 months. 6 months prior to the end of your current deal. Is it possible to switch from subprime at first remortgage? Wasn't far off high. Speak to mortgage advisor. I mean, it depends on what your current credit footprint looks like. But yeah, if things have improved, you should be able to. Yeah, housing problems are huge in the Netherlands because I'm waiting 10 years. Wow. Okay. Have I missed any questions there? My mum is talking about reversion to release all of her equity and remain in her house. Any advice? I'm not qualified for equity release, I'm afraid. Not. I've currently overpaid 3.5 grand. What will happen when I remortgage with a reduced term? When you remortgage, you can do anything you want, really. You can what the overpayments will mean is that the loan that you're looking to refinance would be less than if you hadn't have done those overpayments. So you can reduce the term if you want. You can lengthen the term even within reason. Lots of things you can do at remortgage. My mortgage is going up from 250 to 210 in May next year. Wow, that's quite an increase. But that's what happens, when we have rates at 1% for so long. So many people remortgage at that point. I think Bank of England dropped the ball in their handling of that one. Is it best to off mortgage or stay debt use money for other investments? So I don't understand the question. Yeah, from 1.84. Yeah, so you probably go into something like, I don't know, 5 point something. How does conveyancing a land registry delays impact your role? Do you lose any business? No, because it's all to do with the messaging throughout the process and the fact that telling clients that that is the period that takes a long time. I wouldn't lose the business because um, it's only if the deal falls through, I suppose. So yeah, I will have my deposit in May next year. When shall I get the ball rolling and what do I do first? So when you've got your deposit, speak to a mortgage advisor because they will know, they'll be able to look through the figures with you, look through how much you earn and look at how much you can borrow. Then you know where you stand, you know what kind of properties you can look at. So yeah, great place to start. I'll also advise you, if you're a first time buyer, for example, with me, I advise you about the whole process and what's involved at each stage. We used a mortgage charter to go interest only for 6 months as a buffer before it increases. Yep. I was lucky to get 4.5 for 3 years about 4 months ago. Hopefully it'll be lower when remortgaged. I don't necessarily think it'll be hugely lower. I think we're in a relatively sort of normal period. But can afford if it goes up, so I feel pretty good about it. Yeah, good. I don't think it will. I don't foresee increases. In terms of decreases, might be a little, but nothing too major. Is porting easy to do? Not necessarily. It depends. It's almost like a new application because the lender wants to make sure you can still afford it, and that the house is deemed suitable collateral for it. So you know, just to point out, by the way, this is also going live on YouTube as we speak, and on YouTube it's replayed. So if I've said something that you've missed, then feel free to go and have a look and watch it back again. Amazing, isn't it? 40's a nightmare in conveyancing world. Yeah, exactly. I have to remortgage in May. We have 2.1 at the moment. What's your advice? I can't advise on the length of the fix, I'm afraid, or even a tracker. You need to be a client for me to do that because I need to understand your circumstances. I said earlier to someone, what advice would I give? I would try and calculate what your repayments would be if your mortgage was on a 5% and see if you can start making those payments. One, to get used to it, and two, you'll also be making an overpayment. But before you do that, make sure you're allowed to make overpayments on your paperwork. Do you think it will come down to around 3%? Right. Speaking to an IFA on live the other day, and they seem to think there would be some. Now, I think if there is going to be 3%, it's going to be for the low loan to value deals. So whereas right now we're seeing the best rates on the sort of like a 5-year fixed on a loan to value of 60%, we might be seeing that with the 3%. Just a slight opinion, but we'll see how it goes. I'll have enough for a deposit now. Should I start now? If you want to, yeah, D. If you want to start looking at houses, absolutely. Of course, you've got the deposit. You don't have to buy a house right now, but you can always do the looking and the research. You're in the power seat there, especially you're a first-time buyer. You don't have to buy unless there's something forcing you to. But yeah, you're in the power seat, so do what feels best for you. Certainly, speak to a mortgage advisor, work out or work with them, and they will tell you how much you can afford, how much deposit you will need. For example, have you got enough? For example, guys, sounded a bit Bristolian there. Have you got enough deposit for the kind of thing you're looking at? All that kind of stuff. Like, also telling you what documents you need so you can start getting those in order. So there's some numerous benefits to speaking to a mortgage advisor, and that ties me on nicely to say, if anyone would like to get in touch, then it's going to the TikTok in the bio on TikTok. You can book in a call straight with me. You click on my face with the purple background. If you're on the live, you have to do it again, and you'll see a Linktree link. Click on that, and the top option that comes up is book in a call. Also, in those options, you can also get a free check my file report, so you can see how your credit file stacks up. It does take you through to a 30-day free trial, but you're able to download your report and then cancel the trial straight away. Make sure you do that, otherwise they'll charge you. So yes, do get in touch if you'd like to. Is it easier getting approved for a remortgage than a new purchase? Not necessarily. No, I mean, because we still look at the same stuff like affordability, credit file, all your commitments, all that kind of stuff. Because things can change. Someone could buy a new build, for example, or a new house. Just got married, buy a new house, put it on a 5-year fixed, and within that 5 years, they then have a child. That then kind of skews the affordability a little bit because that has to get taken into account. So, not necessarily. Is now a good time to be entering the market to sell up and upsize? I don't know. Is there ever a good time? Is there ever a bad time? It's only if it works out for you. If it suits your circumstances, you can afford to do it. Then I'll say it's right for you, I suppose. You got to bear in mind that if you're selling and then buying, your house might have decreased a bit in value, therefore the one you're buying might have decreased a bit in value. So it's all relative, I suppose. But I think in that instance, you really have to take the selfish viewpoint of you and what's best for you only. Don't listen to all the doom and gloom and all the rubbish you'll hear in the news. I think just if it's right for you, then go for it. GC rates came back down to 1% in 5 years. No, not at all. Not at all. Not even 2. People have to understand that period was an anomaly. So it's not going down to 1%. So there's no point waiting for it. You should do a video on the mortgage calculator. You haven't done it. They are brilliant to look at. Disagree. Online mortgage calculators aren't that great. I do a calculation on every single one of my clients to assess their affordability. And so it's not that great. Do you think house values will now stagnate? I really don't know. I'm not as in touch with the market. I'm not an estate agent, so I'm not in touch with what's going on in the values and stuff. All I'm aware of is there's been a few instances of down valuations when it comes to mortgage applications. Of course, if lending criteria gets tightened with rates or criteria, then not so many people buy. Therefore, there might be oversupply, which makes prices come down because it's all to do with the supply and demand. So it's they might cool. I think they might cool a bit. Buying a house, 160k with a 20k deposit. Okay. I couldn't believe how much interest. I want to offer you a free trial of AI products to enhance your role. It's crucial to stay ahead. Not interested, thanks. Had 3.9, 2 years fixed rate. Can I be looking at similar rate May next year now? Don't think so. Well, it depends. No, there's no 3% out there at the moment. Depends what your loan to value will be. Does deposit percentage within the bracket affect chances, i.e., 10.1 and 40.9 deposit same chance? Yeah, you just fit into. It's not to do with the chance. It's to do with what sort of product and what rate you get. So in that instance, you'll be looking at you'll be looking at sort of 85% mortgages. 160k with a 20k deposit is possible to get mortgages. Depends how much you earn. It's nothing to do with your deposit. You need to know how much you earn to see how much you can actually afford to borrow. Can I change from 25 years to 30 years? 2 years, then the rates go down. What? So you want to change your mortgage. You can feasibly do that, assuming you've got ages on your side. You should be able to do that a remortgage, yeah, and then switch it back. Yeah, makes sense. Yeah, that's what I was getting at. Sorry. Thanks, mate. Wanting to release a bit of equity when we move. Yeah, so it's all to do with sitting within the brackets of the loan to value. Mortgages with bad credit score of 500. So when it comes to credit score, I'm not necessarily interested in the actual score. I'm interested in the reasons behind it. What's the maximum amount of years that you can get a mortgage for? 40 at the moment. Self-employed, got 2 years books already. Do you need more? No, 2 years. That's great. That's the ideal amount. That's good stuff. Where do you believe 2 and 5 year rates will be in April 24? That's not too far away. I think they'll be relatively similar to what they are now. I think we're in a period of stability. There's still going to be slight corrections, very slight, nothing major, but that's where we are. There's an advisor on TikTok saying he thinks mortgages start with a 3 next year. What do you think? Possibly, but only for the low loan to values. Which mortgage advisor was that? Is Halifax reducing rates this week? Not that I've heard of yet. Let me just check, see if I've had any emails from Halifax today. No. I had one from Virgin. Ooh, Virgin. Yeah, just nothing from Halifax. How do you find out what your credit score is? I have no idea what mine is. So River Matthews, if you click on my profile, you can get a link to a free check my file report. It takes you to a 30-day trial. After that, you will get charged, but just cancel the trial after you've got your report. Good, best. Oh, Simmons. Well, there you go. Best credit file is check my file. That's the one I ask my clients. My credit score is poor. Will I be able to port across my mortgage? Depends on the lender. Depends on the lender. 5 years left with 10 years fixed. 20 years left. Oof, sorry. After, what's the current rate roughly for a 5-year fixed after remortgage? So it depends on your circumstances, but we're probably looking and the loan to value, to be honest. It's really difficult to give you an average without knowing a bit more detail about it. Yeah, I've been arguing with Simmons on that. He doesn't seem to understand how the bank. Yeah, he's a bit of a wide boy, isn't he? Wee bit of a geezer. Yeah, I think if we're going to see 3%, it's going to be for the very low loan to values, and it'll probably be like a 5-year fix loan to values. I don't know, 60 or better, and then probably with a fee, and it'll be about 3.99 or something, or 3.9. My loan to value is 40. Do they only go as low as? They tend to be about 60 is the sort of the cutoff. Interested to hear your personal mortgage deal and rates, if you don't mind. That's for me to know. Well, I suppose we're on 1.79 fixed until the end of next year. I don't know why I thought that's personal. Sorry. Best 75% 2 year round depends on so many circumstances, I'm afraid. I'm mid-mortgage and just started paying my student loan. Do I need to tell my mortgage provider? Not really. It may come up when you remortgage. It may come up in the calculations. Is there any point overpaying on your first house if you intend to upsize? Well, yeah, because if you overpay, you're actually paying off more of the loan. So therefore, when you sell it, you'll keep more of that money yourself. So effectively, it's almost like a savings account if you're going to sell it. You're exactly the same as my mortgage. You're exactly the same as my mortgage with Nationwide. Sorry, I don't understand that. I'm not a mortgage. What's volatility on the projection graph? Sorry, let me just say the main reason I put that graph there is to indicate to people that we're not going back to 2%. All right, cool. All right, sorry, I thought you thought I was a mortgage. I am not a mortgage. I'm a mortgage advisor, mortgage broker, whatever you want to say. What do you think? Do you think mortgage broker or mortgage advisor sounds best? Do I put? Ah, it's a tax question. I can't answer tax questions, I'm afraid. Should we wait? We have to switch in January. Should we allow to run into variable rate then switch? It really depends on your circumstances, I'm afraid. Get into advisor. Okay, all right. I'll switch with the advisor. I'll keep with the advisor even. Um, yeah, I have money to pay off mortgage. It's due to finish in 18 months. If you pay it now, you'll probably pay an early repayment charge. So I wouldn't. I wouldn't pay it now. How to become mortgage advisor? Do your qualifications and line up some work. Last one before lunch is over. Is there still a pause on stamp duty since COVID? No, there's no pause on stamp duty. You have to look at the thresholds. 315, if you are a first time buyer, you'll be all right. I can't remember what the threshold is. Stamp duty is really a conveyancing thing. But no, there's no pause on stamp duty. No fee to pay now, but interest rates on bank better. But interest rates on bank better. So I don't understand that. If you buy a house with a mortgage and intend to sell after a year, can you take out a really long mortgage? Well, yeah, but it depends if you're in a fixed period. You may have some early repayment charges you have to pay. Would you recommend your career? Could you give me some pros and cons? Oh yeah, it's quite good. Problem solving, lots. Everything's different. It can be stressful. Of course, you are at the mercy of the market. So if it goes quiet, you go quiet, and your earnings go quiet. So yeah, how long for a decision case gone to head office for review? Saying, oh, it's gone to head office, has it? Really depends. Can't say, I'm afraid. Can one get a mortgage if their name is on Hunter's list? It's a Hunter's list. Going through application now is taking a 2-year fix. I can only I can only speak about that with my clients because I need to know the circumstances. I'm afraid. Um, which lender is top? Who accept the most? Is the bank mortgage is hard to get? I don't understand those questions. Oh, right, CFAS. Yeah, I wouldn't touch it. So I mean, can I pay mortgage off now with no fee, but savings interest? But if you can pay it off with no fee and you've got the money, you might want to. Yeah, because then you obviously, well, I can't, I'm not a financial advisor, I'm afraid. I can't advise on better rates elsewhere. But, you know, if there's no fee to pay off your mortgage, then it's a more viable thing to consider. That's all I can say on that. I have large debts which we paid off before mortgage. Will they affect mortgage approval at all? If you can prove that they've been paid off, then shouldn't be a problem. We just don't have to declare them on the application, and an advisor will make notes to say the loan is still showing on the credit file, but it has just been cleared. Here's the evidence. Zoopla says mine were a house worth 208. Will lender use its evaluation? No, they lenders use all kinds of data like land registry data, all kinds of stuff. Zoopla's a rough kind of guide, I suppose, but lenders have their own sources. Has the rates going so high had a negative impact on mortgage advisors who are self-employed? And potentially yes, because not so many people are taking mortgages. Um, it means that it's more difficult to get an application approved because the stress tests are obviously harsher. So yeah, it does. Someone advised me it's good to have a small mortgage, even if you could afford to pay off. I don't understand why that's the case. Might be if you want to do extended borrowing, anything like that. You've obviously got the account open. It's the only thing I can really think about that. As a forecast, would you? I can't advise on 2 or 5 year. I can't advise on that unless I know your circumstances. I'm afraid. Debts affect future remortgage. Yes, they will do. Will taking a payment holiday on a mortgage to pay other debts affect future remortgage? Oh, so not if the payment holiday is all agreed with the lender. Sorry, I only saw half of that. That's a shame. Must be stressful. Yeah, it can be stressful. But I I have a couple of companies, and one of them pays the bills. So it's all right. I'm quite lucky from that aspect. Just came across this live. Do you have opinions on crypto? Not really. No, I don't know anything about crypto. What qualifications do you need? You need to do either. There's the CMAP qualification or the Chartered Insurance Institute's qualifications. My partner hasn't had credit before, but my score is excellent. Must be much of an issue. They really want to see a credit footprint. It might be a potential issue. What I'd recommend is just see if you can get a credit report for her and see what it says. Or him, sorry. Um, is it better to pay off mortgage or use the money to buy a new buy to let? Uh, It's really up to you. That sort of verging on financial advice. I can't give it. I'm afraid. Um, sorry, meant more like, is the rates expected to continue to increase or level off slightly to go down? I think we're kind of stable, but there might be some slight reductions. Any change with leads? Nothing that I've seen. Can you be a mortgage advisor with a criminal record? I don't think so. No, crypto runs 4 years. That's great. No worries, Wardroy. Happy to help. Um, does having a bigger deposit for buying a first house make sense? What it means is you therefore have to borrow less, which means your repayments will be less. And if you've got a bigger deposit, you might fall into one of the brackets that has slightly lower rates. So, can do you a favour. Likely a 5.25 peak until Q4 24. What are you talking? Base rate, Bank of England base rate, or mortgages? Seems it's a good time to buy crypto. No, Dale would it's not here for crypto, I'm afraid. Interest rates were better under the boat. Okay, very good. The report still says good for her, but there's obviously no proof she can pay credit back. So she needs to be make sure she's on the electoral roll. Perhaps get a credit card, and maybe put a little bit of spending on it, but pay it off each month. That will create a credit footprint. Bank of England base rate. Yeah, let me show you the predictions for the Bank of England base rate. That's what we're kind of looking at. Again, these are just predictions. Anything can happen. Is it not advisable to pay a mortgage off at a younger age? I keep being told not to. Why wouldn't you want to? I would pay my mortgage off as soon as I could. Is 5.25 on 90% loan to value okay? Or consider it high? Just put an application for that. Depends on your circumstance, I'm afraid. I can't tell. What would advise a couple who are ready to apply in January and have deposit ready to go? Should we wait? I would advise speaking to a mortgage advisor. So then you know where you stand, know how much things cost. Um, I, I don't quite know what you'll be waiting for, but my advice would be to speak to a mortgage advisor. What's the oldest age you can get a mortgage? Some lenders go up to 90. As long as it's still affordable, you've got a way of paying it. Not a problem. It's worth buying a property to rent out anymore. If you get the model right, yeah, I think so. As long as you buy the right house, get the model right. I fixed my renewal at 4.2 in January. Nice work, John. By not having a mortgage, my credit score will go bad. No, I mean, there's other things that go on your credit score, aren't there? Like credit cards, car finance, all that kind of stuff. How can you get the best percentage? It's just loan to value. Yeah, so it's loan to value. It's also having a good credit file. Because if you've got a good credit file, you don't have like loads of commitments stuff. You can go with a relatively mainstream lender. So, what was percentage be on a 15-year fixed rate? Don't have any 15-year ones. Um, a house has been found to have partially underpinning. Does this affect getting a mortgage? Possibly, because the valuation will show that, and depends whether the lenders are happy with it or not. Do you think the rates will drop by the end of January? I don't think they'll drop. There may be one or two sort of price changes, price corrections, but I don't think they'll drop. Expected rate in 2027. Wow, that's a long way away. Um, who knows? That's quite a long way away. My mortgage is due for renewal in June next year. When do you recommend we renew? I recommend you start looking at the process 6 months prior. Last thing you want to be is rushed. So start the process and then take your time, have considerations. If you select a product and go for it, you can always change the product or change the rate prior to completion. So, um, yeah, no harm in doing that. Do you think it's a good idea to appeal the valuation? You can do, but it might devalue it. Depends how desperate you are to use. Generally, need to get a mortgage if it's well below your mortgage in principle. It will help. It will help, yeah. As long as you don't go above the mortgage in principle, that's the really, really important piece. Do you think a lot of people will end up having their homes repossessed now? Oh, good question. Because a lot of people did borrow to the max on the low rates, and therefore when they come to remortgage, they may be in trouble. Um, if they choose to stay in the houses and not pay the mortgages, then yeah, feasibly they could be repossessed. If it comes to remortgage and they can't afford it, they'll have to sell up, unfortunately. Um, what are the rates right now? Variable, there's loads of different rates. So it really depends on circumstances and whether it's on a 2 or 5 year fixed, loan to value, all that kind of stuff. Best place to go for a right to buy mortgage. Mortgage advisor, best place. My ID and bank statements are different to the address on my pay slip. It will raise a few questions. It will raise a few questions. Has TSB reduced their 2 year fixed rate recently? Not that I'm aware of. Hang on, let me just have a quick look. I might have missed the email. Like, we get so many emails of it, just they're all the time. So when was this? This was on the 7th. What was the question? 2 year fixed rates recently. Yes, 2 year fixed rate. A new one has been introduced. Product transfers. We're reducing rates on buy-to-lets. Reducing rates. No, nothing major there. No, I wouldn't say so. Does a 2 or 5 year hold different percentage? What's the better rate on average? There is a difference between 2 and 5 years. 5 years, you probably get a slightly lower rate. There's also more favourable stress tests when it comes to a 5 year. So it really depends on your circumstances which one you go with. As a first time buyer, going for a 5 year fixed 150k, what would you expect interest? Depends on your circumstances. You might have all kinds of things on your credit file, so it depends which lender you go with. You could feasibly be. It also depends on your loan to value, so how much deposit you're putting down. So it depends on your deposit, depends on your credit footprint, depends on your employment status. There's quite a few things that go into it, which will dictate which kind of rates you'll be. I recently had a remortgage valuation. It came very low than what I expected. Thing is, appeal. You can always appeal it. You'll have to pay to do it, though, I suspect. Should I pay off my mortgage in full before I move? Can I roll my mortgage into a new house? So there's 2 questions there. Should I pay my mortgage off in full before I move? Most people just do all at the same time. So that's what your solicitor will handle. Your solicitor will handle the money coming in from the sale and then paying off the old mortgage, paying a new one. Can I roll my mortgage into a new house? That's called porting. Some products allow you to do it. It is a faff to do it, but it's possible. My 2% interest rate is ending very soon. Should I consider going on the charter for interest? It's really up to your circumstances. Not every lender's signed up to that charter. It's not what's the phrase? It's not compulsory. My fixed is up in July and it's 3.74. What do you think it would be, 2 or 5? I don't know. You're probably looking. Well, it depends if you go. Depends on your loan to value. Depends on your credit footprint. But I reckon the average 2 years probably going to be 5.5 to 6. The 5 years is probably going to be 5 to 5.5, I'd say. But it really depends on your loan to value. Shall I wait till my first house and carry on saving for a deposit? Carry out 5%. If you can do that, 10% is better. There's quite a lot of you get higher rates with just a 5% deposit. It's also a bit riskier for the lenders, so they are stricter. So if you can get to 10%, that'll be good. When buying a 150k house, how much would a solicitor fees and extra costs? So you're probably looking at about 1,500 quid for your solicitor. You may want to pay for a survey. That could be about 600 quid. all kinds of things. You're welcome, Miles. Buying a house it is currently a mortgage valuation stage. Is there a chance of rejection? Possibly, possibly. But let's not worry, not stress. If the mortgage valuation comes back and it's fine, then so be it. You'll still probably be underwritten, so yeah, don't stress. You are welcome, everyone. If anyone wants to get in touch, then please do so. If the links are in the bio, so if you click on my bio, this is mainly aimed at TikTok. Click on my face with the purple background, click it again, and you'll be able to book a call straight in with me. You're also able to drop me an email, or if you just want to drop me an email, the address is Philip with one L at mellowfinancial.co.uk. Feel free to do that. If you do send me an email, just keep an eye on your junk mail for the reply, because sometimes they go in there. My fixed rate is up in July at 3.74. What do you think the rate will be? Again, depends if we're looking at 2-year, 5-year fixed, what your loan to value is. So it's difficult to say, I'm afraid. So yeah, do feel free to get in touch. And also, this is currently live on YouTube as well. But if you've missed something prior in the live, then head over to YouTube, because it is available after the live has ended as a recording. So that's all good. For those on YouTube, if you want to get in touch, then the email is in the channel about section. Can you help with shared ownership mortgages? Yes. You're on a very low note. I'm buying a house, agreed August 300k. Should I ask for reduction 280? Oh, you can chance your arm. You can see what happens. Give it a go. Currently on a tracker mortgage with no tie-in. Would you recommend switching to fixed? It depends what you're looking to do. Of course, it depends what you think is going to happen with the base rate. Is that going to go down? If so, you're going to benefit from that, aren't you? What's the best rate for a first-time buyer with a 10% deposit? Depends on many different things. And use from Santander reducing their rates? Not at the moment. Afternoon, Philip. All right, Dan. What deposits needed for buy-to-lets, please? About 25%. 25% is a good starting point. 25% deposit. Does the rate keep decreasing if I do a high deposit? I wouldn't say it keeps decreasing. There are sort of unwritten brackets where they do change. So sort of 95%, 90%, 85, 75, 60. They're kind of like the loan to value rates where rates tend to change. But again, it's not set in stone. It varies by lender. No worries, Dan. No problem at all. Oh, thank you for the follows. Appreciate that. Why is there a minimum deposit? Don't know. Good question. That's just what they stipulate, what the lenders stipulate, probably to mitigate their risk. Is it difficult to change property details on a mortgage offer to a new property? Not really. You'll have to go through another valuation though. It's worth getting private valuation to ensure you pay the right price. Can do if you want, yeah. But remember that a lender will do a valuation anyway, and they're quite strict, you know. Do you need to pay a higher deposit if you're over 40? No, not at all. No. Age. The only thing that comes into it with age is the length of mortgage you can get. Getting a mortgage now is 75%. What would you personally go for? If you were getting a mortgage now at 75, what would you personally go for? I don't understand the question. I know you can't predict. But if you had to bet money on where rates will be in 3, oh God, I'm not going to. No, I wouldn't take the bet. Sorry, it's just too unknown. Fixed term ends in April. Can I pay it off in full? Is that possible without paying it? You can pay it off in full in April. Yes, if you do it beforehand, you may well hit the early repayment charges. What's stopping someone taking out a personal mortgage 10% deposit, then letting it out? The terms of mortgage and mortgage fraud. If your lender finds that you are letting out a property, they will demand all their money back. They will demand you repay the mortgage because you have breached the conditions of the mortgage and the contract. They may well put your fraud marker on you as well, so I really wouldn't do it. How often people usually negotiate the price after surveys? Oh, yeah, it's quite common. That's the point of a survey, because the survey will highlight if anything needs doing. Say the roof needs replacing. That costs a bit of money, doesn't it? So, you're quite right to take it off the price. What is the process for an extra house value when remortgaging for doing an extension? You need to get a RICS surveyor to come around and do a survey for you. Are you seeing the majority of your client? I can't answer that. What is the chart? Can you explain it? It's a prediction of where 2-year and fixed rates will be over time. Now, take it with a pinch of salt. The main reason I put that graph up there is to show people that we're not going back to 1 and 2%. Have the interest rates went up recently? No, they have not. Bank of England has kept them the same for the past 2 reviews. Sorry if you already answered, but is the rate coming down? Which rate is that? Bank of England base rate? Feasibly, maybe in the spring next year. Mortgage rates, they're just kind of bumbling along, slight corrections. Are you insured if RICS surveyor misses something on a big survey? Potentially, they will have their indemnity insurance, so you can take them to court. But that's an insurance matter. It's not my area, I'm afraid. Is there a rate war going on, or is it settled? It's relatively settled. It's calmed down quite a bit. I think they are still trying to put the best rates out there that they absolutely can. But that is mainly being driven by what's called the SONIA swap rate, so the money that it costs them to actually borrow it. Now they are sort of changing a little bit here and there, so that's what's the kind of decreases are going on. Like we saw earlier in the week, was it last week? Nationwide putting it down to 4.64. Previously, Halifax were kind of winning that deal, that war at 4.85. Now, Halifax haven't moved in response to that 4.64, so might suggest that it has cooled a bit. In your opinion, if you had to choose, what's the driving factor of these high rates? These rates are not high; they are normal. The rates are not high. In the past, they've been abnormally low. RICS surveyors firm will have their PII. That's right, their professional indemnity insurance. These rates are not high. They are just higher than what they have been in the past. So this is the real world now. In the past, the 1 to 2%, they've just been abnormally low. So that's it. Is it true they are now offering 0% deposit? There is a 100% mortgage out there. There is, for very specific circumstances. Will I be credit checked again before my sale completes? Potentially, yeah, because the lender will want to make sure that nothing has changed from when the application was put in, they offered, and the process complete. So potentially, yeah. Are there any lenders offering 95% mortgage? Yeah, there's loads. There's quite a few 95% mortgages out there. Absolutely. How does paying a mortgage advisor work? Do you pay them for the services, or do they get paid through lender? So if they charge a fee, there's both. You pay them for the services, and they get paid from a lender. Why are credit checks a bad thing? Credit checks put if it's a hard search, it can impact your credit file. Also, if you're trying to hide something, they might see it. You are welcome, Meg. Do you recommend a financial advisor to look at finances to improve credit before buying? I don't think that's really what a financial advisor will do. They're more interested in your investments, your pensions, all that kind of stuff. I think you can just look online for plenty of advice on how to improve your credit file. If the year 22 rates were abnormally low, why did mortgage advisors not recommend 5-10 year fix? I don't know. I wasn't a mortgage advisor then. Is there a reason 10-year fixed is not on the graph? Are they bad? They're not great, because you're committing yourself for a very long time. 10-year fixed is very long. If your circumstances change within that, you could face some hefty fees to get out of that. Can having big credit card balance affect getting a mortgage? Yes, it can, because your affordability will be impacted. So it just depends how much you can borrow, how much of an impact it has. Martin Lewis says there's no such thing as a credit score in the UK. Do you agree with this? Yes. Credit score is really just a point of reference for you, so you can see how your sort of credit footprint is. So when it comes to mortgages, some people say to me, I've got a bad credit score. I'm like, great. I'm not really interested in the score. I want to know what's behind the score. Um, I want to know what's giving you that low credit score. So credit scores really are just a point of reference. When my clients are working with me, I ask them to send me a check my file report so that I can have a good proper look at all their circumstances. Maybe Joe. What did I answer? Yeah. It's just the commitment on a 10-year fixed. That's the downside to that. Well, what time is it? 1:30. I suspect many people's lunch hour is up. So I might crack on with my work. The to-do list is, just a couple of things to do, and then we get back to it. So just another final shout out. If anyone does want to get in touch, then the contact details are in the bio. You can, thank you. Thanks for that. I should teach it in school. Yeah, we're not taught how to run our finances, are we? It's a major thing. But I've gone and do some extra studying. If I could speak, it would help. I've gone and done some studying, so I can help you do that. So there you go. Um, so if anyone does want to get in touch, the links are in the bio. You can send me an email, but do keep an eye on your junk mail just in case my reply goes into there and you miss it. Also, if you want to book a call straight into my diary, then you can do. We can have a chat about anything. Mortgage related would be preferable. So just click on the bio and book in a call, and we shall speak. I will call you at that time, and we can discuss things. So you are more than welcome for the answers. It has been recorded on YouTube, so if you've missed anything, then go there. The channel is called Mellow Financial, of course. So not Mellow Financial, of course. It's called Mellow Financial. Of course, it's called that because it's Mellow Financial. See? So it has been recorded on there and will be available for you to watch it back. So yeah, don't forget to like, follow it, and tell your friends. Tell your friends. There's this bald guy on TikTok who does lives about mortgages. He's quite helpful. If you want a mortgage, then get in touch with him. Anyone wants to drop me an email? It's Philip with one L at mellowfinancial.co.uk. So I shall wrap it up here. I thank you for joining me and enjoy the rest of your days. Take care, everyone. Bye bye.